people. My name is Dan, and this is Engelgeist. I am going to begin, if I may, to do... What happened there? Somebody calling me? What happened to my damn music? Oh, dumb. Hold on one second. I lost my music, guys, because I'm a ding-dong. But give me one moment, and I will get it all back up and running. Come on. Okay, here we go. All right, let me share this down to groups, and then we'll get started. I'm doing the air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We're going to look at what's going on for you guys in the month of April 2020. For those of you that are either have an ascendant, sun, moon, or rising, basically, in any of these three signs, you would want to watch this, or if you have heavily placed air planets. Or if you care about somebody that is a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius, you may want to watch this also. If you like my videos and you want to support my channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified when I go live. Because I do live events where I do one-card pulls and things like that. And so it'll notify you when that happens, or you can like the Facebook business page. All of my information is located on my social media stuff, or you can follow me at Engelgeist333 on Instagram. So let's get into the air signs. For those of you that are interested in a private reading too, if these are a little bit too broad spectrum for you, they are intended for like a large group of people to see, or to reach a large group of people. So I don't get very specific on exact stuff, but if it resonates and you feel as though you would like a private reading with me, I am available for that. You can always message me at the Facebook business page, and I can give you more information about that. So let's get into what is going on in April of 2020 for the sign of Gemini. Let's see here. Sun, moon, and rising are heavily placed planets in Gemini. That'll help, a little extra light will help. Okay, so this first card represents sort of as your, what I call the U card, basically. It gives me an idea of where my Geminis are going to be sort of operating from or vibrating at for the most part in the month of April, and not the, complete month of April, but, sort of going in and out of this energy throughout the month of April, right? And it not only gives us information about what to expect in April, but also it can give us a little foretelling of what might be created for the future. I hope that makes sense. So this is the Nine of Swords. So the Nine of Swords is usually not a great card. It's usually about sort of nightmares, turmoil, that sort of thing, especially mentally induced turmoil. To me, this feels not necessarily about turmoil as much as it feels like there's some major indecision happening with my Geminis. I do like that you guys are an air sign and you kick off with a Swords card. I feel like that's in your element, but I do feel like there's a fair amount of fretting going on in the month of April for you guys. And it feels like these swords pointing both up and down, up and down, up and down. To me, it feels like we're maybe not trusting ourselves a little bit mentally, not trusting our thought patterns, having maybe a little bit too much on our plate or too much to think about, and it's sort of confusing us, stressing us out. There is this, there is this sort of like push towards the future goal, and I feel that because her arm is outstretched, this direction to me is always towards the future. So when I look at her sitting here in the center with her arm outstretched in this direction, to me it feels like my Geminis whatever it is that you guys are going back and forth on, whatever it is that you are stressing about or worrying about or overthinking, it's probably got something to do with future outcomes, be it around a relationship, around, finances, a job, who knows? Maybe it's the coronavirus, for Christ's sakes. Maybe you guys are worried about, am I going to be able to do that summer trip that I wanted to do? But whatever it is, whatever you're thinking about now in your present state throughout the month of April is going to have long-term effects, or is you're kind of thinking about it now, but it's something that's to happen down the line. Does that make sense? That's what I'm sort of feeling from this card. Is it's like, it's almost to me like it feels like future tripping. Like you're spinning yourself a little bit in the month of April about something that may not even be able to happen until further down the road. But you're trying to sort of maybe make it happen through the thinking and overthinking, or the going this way, then that, then this way, then that. This doesn't feel as tormented as the Nine of Swords normally does. Nine of Swords usually means like bad dreams, high stress levels. I don't feel that much as it feels more of this energy of kind of like beleaguering oneself with one's own thoughts, or worries about the future, about things that like ultimately I feel like what I want to say is that my Geminis can't really control. Okay, you guys are in your air element, which is good. I like that, but I don't feel like it's necessarily the easiest of air elements for you guys to be in. Like it feels like there's going to be a lot of mental activity happening for you throughout the month of April. Quite possibly in the realm of like, making a decision then going back on that decision, or looking at two different paths. And you guys are the twins, right? You're the other duality of the zodiac, Pisces and Gemini, the two fish and then the twins. So you guys see things from different angles, right? And that's partially like a gift, but it also can be sort of a pain in the ass. And to me, that feels like a little bit like a pain in the ass this month, or it's going to have that sort of effect where you might find yourself being actually mentally a little bit tired throughout April, mulling things over. Now, the next card is what I call the foundation card. This card tells me a bit about sort of why things are the way that they are in the month of April. It's usually a card that represents from the past. It also tells me a little bit sort of about kind of, it's the foundation that like sort of holds these cards in place. So it's the memory of this card that kind of holds everything in place. So you guys have the Hermit. The Hermit is major arcana, which is kind of big energy. To me, this is about soul searching. This is about taking some time alone. It's interesting. I sort of feel like it's interesting in the sense that, hold on one second. Can you stop, Tallulah? Like, they don't need to hear you licking in the background. That's just disgusting. Can you stop? Thank you. To me, it's kind of interesting because I feel like how we have her like worrying and stressing towards the future. This Hermit to me feels like he is sort of like almost worrying and stressing towards the past. Like there's been a large focus on the past. There's been a large focus on sort of maybe where mistakes have gone wrong. We've learned from them. I feel like there's knowledge in the Hermit card. There's profound knowledge and understanding of who we are and what we've learned from our experiences. But there's also been this focus leading up to now where we've been sort of looking at past mistakes or past situations and how we handled them and trying to learn from them. And in an effort to learn from them, we're sort of now overthinking ourselves in the now, trying to make sure that we don't make those same mistakes again, or we don't repeat those same behaviors, or we don't set ourselves up for that same mistake. If that's sort of the feeling that I'm getting from this card. The Hermit to me, though, it feels like we need to trust our intuition. The reason why I say that is always because we have this moon here, and he's facing straight towards that moon. And this Nine of Swords feels to me that because you guys are Geminis, and you guys are natural born thinkers, right? You're the element of air and the element of the intellect. It's not in your, how do I want to say this? It's not necessarily your first go-to is to like go inward and trust your intuition. You tend to like maybe want to think it through, plan it through find the clear plan, then act on it and stick to it and have it stay really clear. This Hermit card says to me that this being the foundation, the month of April is not going to be the month where you're able to do that, right? That's why you're struggling with this Nine of Swords card to me. It feels like this Hermit is down here kind of trying to remind you to go inward, remind you that we can learn from our past mistakes. We can sort of use our like transgressions or failures, whatever they were, however we see them. If we like sort of take the sort of judgment off of them and look at them intuitively, they can actually educate us and help us and strengthen us throughout the month of April. Okay, I hope that makes sense, but that's kind of how I want to express this to you guys. Now, this next card is the Spirit or Soul card. This tells me what your spirit or soul is working on during all of this. So we have the Ten of Cups. So this is a beautiful card. This is all about abundance, emotional abundance. This is about celebration. This is about kind of everything sort of coming to completion emotionally, feeling more complete emotionally. It's an interesting card only because that Nine of Swords does not feel emotionally complete to me. It feels like we might have to work through some of our thoughts, maybe our mind being our own worst enemy in the month of April, so that we can get to this idea of this sort of emotional abundance and feeling overflowing, feeling content, feeling really owning it and feeling it from a deep sort of seated like I want to say this Ten of Cups being in the spirit space, it puts us into this place of really feeling emotionally sound, abundant, at a depth that is really rather profound for you guys. And this is, to me, the goal of the spirit. And the spirit is trying to lead you there. And the mind is trying to like sort of work maybe double time to figure out the way to get there. We also have this foundation of this very centered and powerful intuitive hermit energy happening for us from our past that is also leading us towards this Ten of Cups. Do you understand? Do you see that connection, guys? I don't know if I'm making sense to you, but I'm feeling that there is this sort of driving force of the strength and this, this could be self-isolation or what do they call it? Social, what are they calling it right now? Social isolation that's happening in the month of March or April due to like the coronavirus. But I'm not going to take it that literal. But to me, this is significant of taking time to go inward and really understanding one's own intuitive strengths. And then utilizing that energy to kind of counterbalance whatever nervous sort of thought, back and forth energy we have going on through the month of April. Our spirit is trying to lead us to something that feels much more complete, much more whole emotionally that we deserve. And we may just have to struggle through this Nine of Swords to get there. But once we struggle through this, it makes this all the more valuable, all the more rich, all the more real, all the more abundant. Okay? So keep that in mind. This is like sort of the high-end goal for the month of April. This may not happen or hit until May, but this is what we're working towards, or what our spirit wants us to find, instead of meddling around in our thoughts and spinning ourselves in sort of a state of confusion. Okay? Now, the next two cards are what I call the outside influences. These are sometimes people, events, or things more vague like energies or belief systems that could be having an effect on us and how they're playing out. So we have the Six of Pentacles. And it's interesting because this card actually came out inverted. I don't know if I want to read the inversion. Let me just double check. It's weird. The next card's not inverted. Not all of the cards are inverted. Is that inversion? I feel like the inversion is needed. And it's funny because when you turn these two women over, they start to stare at that center card. Do you see that? Like when they're upright, they're not looking at her, but when they're this way, they are. This her that I'm talking about in the center here, this Gemini woman that's spinning, trying to create her future. I feel like this is judgment, in the sense of I feel like this is sort of feeling like I almost feel like this is normally the Six of Pentacles isn't necessarily a really bad card. To me, though, it feels like I'm being judged when I look at this card. I feel like my Geminis might feel like they're being told, no, you can't create that by their outside environment, wherever that may be it through coworkers, through friends, through partners or family members, whatever it is that she's spinning around here trying to manifest and thinking about and trying to create. If she's sharing it with those outside of her, those people might be telling her, oh no, that's not possible. Here, listen to me, I can tell you how to do this. And it's like, I feel like their information is not necessarily valid for you guys. It's not necessarily accurate. It may have worked for them and they might look like they have it going on, or they might look like they feel fulfilled or seem fulfilled, but they're not. That's also the inversion of this card. Is that even though they may look as though things on the surface are good for them, the feeling I get is that these areas or these wherever this information is coming from isn't as it seems. Let's just say that. It would be a good determination for this card. It may look shiny, good, and golden and look like it's coming from a place of love, but be mindful that their information, as happy as they may want to pretend that they are or say that they may not be as actually as happy as they can be, or it may not be as fulfilling to them as they portray themselves to be, is the feeling I get. Okay? So just be mindful of that. And this will have to do with things of a material nature. So because this is the Six of Pentacles, to me this feels like this is the realm of the outer world. Certainly this is an outer influence position, but this has to do with kind of like people telling you how to go about creating your own happiness even though they don't have their own. Does that make sense? So keep that in mind. I don't think like it's meant with malintent. I just feel like it's sort of misguided, right? So I don't think that it has any sort of harmful potential to my Geminis. It's just something to keep on the lookout for. So keep that in mind. The other card is the Lovers. Interesting. When I look at this Lovers card, to me, this feels like is the opportunity where I feel like there could be outside influences that are giving you misinformation or sort of judging you or telling you, oh no, you can't do it that way, that's not how it works. This to me says that there is opportunities here for things to actually come together in a very big and beautiful way. There is actual opportunity for my Geminis to become sort of either this could be the option of love for some of my Geminis, very much so from a very basic point of view, but this could also be just sort of the unification of yourselves to your own life, like loving life again, feeling whole again, feeling good again, which could also then in turn, that energy could attract love, right? There's this Ten of Cups energy up here. This Lover's card is connected to this Ten of Cups. I can feel it. And it feels to me that this, whatever this plan is from your higher self, for your soul emotionally, if you start to sort of feel that or focus on that, you also open the door for this Lover's card to kind of come in. You know, this Nine of Swords, we have these swords that are pointing up and pointing down and pointing up and pointing down. And to me, it's sort of like, do we choose to focus on the misinformation and where we might feel judged or misunderstood? Or do we choose to sort of try and feel more complete and self-assured and in um, in tune with our intuition and allow this sort of outside influence to open up for us, which is this idea of the Lovers, where we experience more appreciation, others appreciate us, and we connect to that in that bigger, grander way, which also opens the door for further connection to this Ten of Cups. So to me, when I'm looking at these cards, before looking at the final outcome for my Geminis, to me this feels like this is really an opportunity for Geminis. April is really an opportunity for Geminis to make a choice. Which thoughts do we want to choose? Which feelings do we want to feel? Which avenues do we want to take? Which voices do we want to listen to? Do we take our information over others? And we have such strong information, personal information from our own experiences, from our own losses, failures, hardships, whatever that is underneath all of this in this Hermit card, that we can be able to trust our own intuition if we can just realize that and let that carry us through. All right, so the next card is what I call the potential outcomes card. This card tells me a bit about sort of where things are naturally going to head, barring that nothing major changes, right? So this is not necessarily set in stone. It is just sort of an indicator of where it's going to go for most of the Geminis. The good thing is if it's a good card, it can go this way without much, hassle or need to change anything. If it's a bad card, the good thing is we can use it as a warning and make choices and changes now to affect this outcome, right? To not have this outcome come to pass. So let's see what this is. And we have the Four of Cups. Interesting. So the Four of Cups has been showing up a lot in the daily forecast. And I have to say, the fours are always about stability. The cups are about emotions. It's the element of water. When I look at this Ten of Cups in your spirit space and I look at this outcome of this Four of Cups, it looks like we're working towards that Ten of Cups by month's end of April. There's this person here, obviously, there's this stability with the emotions. This person feels like they're sort of dancing around and enjoying themselves. There is this funny feeling where I feel like there is this, some of my Geminis are going to get noticed in the month of April, like romantically. Pay attention to that. It's this Lover's card and this Four of Cups. This woman hanging off of this man also makes me feel like there is that sort of idea of somebody showing interest in you at an emotional level, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's going to be kind of nice if you allow it. But that's if you allow it, right? That's if this Nine of Swords can settle itself and we can sort of settle into the idea of having the abundance of this Ten of Cups. We start to open the door by the end of April to this Four of Cups, which is this stabilizing of our emotional selves, maybe allowing somebody in and becoming a little bit vulnerable to them. That also induces sort of more of those emotional states that we can kind of learn to become abundant with, like we see in that Ten of Cups up in the soul space. I hope that makes sense, Geminis. If you have a Venus in Gemini, you would want to watch this. I should have said that at the beginning, because there is some love present in this with this Lover's card and with that Four of Cups. To me, it feels like there's a little bit of love. Although Four of Cups is not necessarily generally a love card, but the design on there makes me feel like somebody is enamored with my Geminis, some of my Geminis at least by the month's end. But that's because you guys have done some work and you've done some balancing and you've done some emotional stabilizing that makes you all the more attractive. So keep that in mind as you move through April. I hope this made sense. Please leave me a like, a share, a comment, a subscribe. Please share this with anybody else who you would think would like to see it or could utilize it. And I look forward to seeing you guys next month for the forecast. All right, take care and have a good day. Bye-bye. Okay, let's get into Libra. Hello Libra, how are you guys? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I don't have a chat box up, so I can't see any comments that may be being made. If you need to reach me for a question, please message me at the business page, or leave a comment on the video at the business page, or on the YouTube channel. And then that way, I will be sure to see it. This is your April 2020 forecast for those of you with Sun, Moon, or Rising in the sign of Libra. This is also for anybody that's got heavily placed planets in the sign of Libra. So keep that in mind. And let's see what April has in store for you guys. This is also a broad spectrum reading, so it's not necessarily, if it doesn't necessarily resonate with you, don't worry, that's okay. It could be for somebody else. If you're interested in something more specifically tailored to you and your situation, you can always contact me for private reading. Do so at the business page. You can just message me at the business page. Alright, let's see what's going on for my Libras. Alright, so this first card represents as the general overall energy for the month for Libra. It kind of lets me know where you guys are sort of going to be resonating at or vibrating at most of the month, not the entire month. It also gives me a little insight into sort of what you guys could potentially be creating in the months to come. She's back again and she's upside down again. just look at this deck really quick. No, I'm gonna go with it. All right, Libras. This is so weird to me. I wonder if y'all are gonna be judging the Geminis. To me, I feel like this is financial trouble. To me, I don't know why I want to say this, but I want to ask my Libras, have you guys spent a little bit more than you can? Are you guys a little bit more worried about money? Are some of you guys freaking out about sort of either your jobs, your boyfriends, your relationships? Have you been a little bit too extravagant recently? And now maybe in April you're sort of having to look at that or deal with that and feeling the pressure of that. I don't feel like this is a bad card per se. I just feel like you guys are worried financially or materially. Something's not quite working out no matter how hard you try and make it happen, is what it feels like to me. It also feels like to me that when I look at this card, it feels like no matter how well you sort of dress it up, it's still not real enough for you, is what I want to say. And I don't know where that applies in your life, if that's the job that you're in, or if that is the, relationship that you're in, or if that's the, family that you're in. Whatever it is, to me, my Libras, it feels like no matter what you do, no matter how you present yourself, no matter how good a foot you put forward, it feels to me like it's met with like just disappointing results right now. I would be interested in hearing from my Libras if this makes any sense, because that's sort of what I'm feeling from this card. I feel like maybe the month of April is not necessarily going to be a giant disappointment for you, but it sort of feels like it's going to be a bit of a struggle, a bit of like sort of, to me, it almost like this card feels like it's like a retrograde situation, like a Mercury retrograde. Like no matter what you guys do, even if your intentions are pure and good and you do the best to your ability, it's going to be received awkwardly or not how you want it to be received. It's going to be misinterpreted, or it's going to not necessarily land the way you expected it to land. It's funny to me that this card shows up again inverted, but I am going to go with that as the meaning, because that's what I'm sort of feeling as I'm looking at this card. Is it feels like even though you guys are working hard, pushing forward, trying to make things work, and sort of presenting yourself in the best way possible, it's not feeling like it's being received well in April. Throughout the month of April, you might be feeling misunderstood or underappreciated. I'm not sure exactly what this energy is, but it's certainly, and it's not for a lack of trying. I do want to say that, Libras. Like I feel like you guys really are working hard here in this Six of Pentacles. It's just it's not being acknowledged. And only you personally are going to know what area of your life that this is happening in, but it's to me, because this is your central focus for the month of April, it's kind of obvious, and it's kind of like you can't get away from it at this point. Maybe you've been dodging it, maybe you've been not paying attention to it for a while and it's been building and you've kind of been aware, it's been on the periphery, but this card being inverted like this in the center says to me, okay, no, April's the month that we have to really look at this, really assess it, and start to make the changes that need to take place. All right, let's look at the next card. The next card is your foundation card. This tells me a bit about sort of why things are the way that they are in the month of April. This is sort of the card from the past that leads us up to now, and it's also the memory of this card that everything is built upon. So this is the Seven of Wands. Wands is the element of fire in the element of spirit, but when I look at this card, this feels totally like a negotiation. I feel like this is a negotiation that maybe didn't work in your favor. And when I say negotiation, I feel like there is a definite, and this is going to be different for different Geminis, right? Or, sorry, different Libras. This is going to be, for some of you, this is going to be a negotiation at work. For some of you, this is going to be a negotiation with a boss or with a negotiation with a coworker. For some of you, this will be a negotiation with a family member. But whatever it is, it happened in the past. It was a long sort of roundabout negotiation. And it was hard on you, I feel like. I feel like things are okay. They're sort of manageable at this point. But I feel like you didn't, I don't want to say that it was about winning for you guys, but it feels like you weren't, again, you didn't get what you needed from it. And I think that this is sort of creating this feeling of being like struggling now at this point, trying to get ahead, trying to do the best that you know how, trying to present yourself in a way that is sort of attractive or redeemable or praisable, and you're not necessarily getting it. You're not necessarily receiving it. And I feel like, as I'm looking at these two cards, I feel like this Seven of Wands is some sort of judgment that you've placed on yourself from this negotiation or the loss of this negotiation, from the it's like this negotiation or this impasse, this discussion, this argument, whatever it may be for each and every different Libra, wherever it was that it happened in the past, it is also sort of, it's either the fear of this happening again or the fear of this not having worked out that is producing this idea that you're misunderstood, you're underappreciated, you're not the beautiful Libra that you actually are, right? I hope that makes sense. I'm interested to know because this is so strange to me that this is what I'm seeing for my Libras. Now, the next card is the Spirit or Soul card. This tells me a little bit about what your Spirit or Soul is working on and what it wants for you in this situation. This is the Judgment. So this is major arcana. This is no joke. This being in the spirit, in the spirit space, is definitely something that I feel like has a huge impact. The Judgment card is usually about, like, you know, being exactly that, feeling or being judged, or hopefully the truth coming out, that kind of a thing. This being at the spirit space says to me that I just wonder, like, are my Libras judging themselves through the month of April? And they're misinterpreting it and feeling as though they're being misunderstood by their outside environment. But what's really going on is you're not giving yourself a break. That you're sort of letting past sort of, I don't know, discrepancies, hardships, negotiations, whatever, that maybe didn't go as smoothly as you thought or as easily as you thought or worked out the way that you thought that they would. Are you allowing those things, the memory of those things, to temper how you move and manipulate your way through your world in the month of April? And because of that, I feel like your soul is crying out with this Judgment card, asking you to, like, find better judgment, not only of others or situations, but also of yourself. Because I feel like it's almost like a misfire, or like I said, with that first card, it felt like a retrograde sort of energy. Like, it's like we're misinterpreting it, or we're not seeing it correctly. We're not we're looking for the answers outside of ourselves when actually we need to sort of come to terms within ourselves. Does that make sense? And, like, honor that within ourselves. And then at that point, it doesn't really matter what we receive from the outside environment. Speaking of the outside environment, the next two cards are what I call the outside influences. So let's see what these are. These can sometimes be people, sometimes events or energies, belief systems that are having an effect on us in the month of April. The Four of Cups. This was also in the previous reading. It's very interesting. The Four of Cups to me is about emotional stability. And I feel like he's heading towards that center card that's inverted. I feel like he's dancing towards that card, right? Like I feel like he's moving his way towards that card to kind of hopefully assist and help that card to sort of go upright. It's what it feels like to me. There's going to be opportunities. This inversion of this Six of Pentacles says to me that my Libras are going to be kind of maybe a little bit frustrated this month. You guys are going to be feeling like you're putting your best foot forward, trying to be acknowledged and not understanding why. And the emotionality of it is going to be sort of coming up. And that's this presentation of the outside environment giving you this Four of Cups, this opportunity to stabilize emotionally, to these situations that might make you feel a little bit off center or a little bit emotional or whatever. It's going to ultimately strengthen you. It's going to ultimately stabilize you and give you kind of, I feel like it begins to put this Six of Pentacles back upright. Let's see what the other outside influence is. The Knight of Cups. My Libras, I want to say, what are you guys stuffing? To me, it feels like whatever it is you're emotionally stuffing or hiding, you're not going to be able to hide from it much longer. With the Four of Cups on one side and the Knight of Cups on the other, it says to me that emotional situations through the month of April are going to be at hand. And the reason why they're at hand is because I feel like it is teaching us something. They're going to be coming at us left and right to keep us on our toes, to help us understand our worth and our judgment in this place of spirit of how we judge the people in these situations, the situations themselves, how we react in these situations. All of that sort of stuff is going to be very key in our sort of well-being and whether or not we feel grounded, happy, secure, that sort of a thing. And what I want my Libras to remember, or what I feel like I need to say, is that these emotional situations, however annoying or some of them may be actually uplifting, but some might be annoying or painful or sad, or it's just like this broad range of emotional situations. However they come to you, remember that they're here to help you. They might feel like they're knocking you down or getting in your way, but actually what they're trying to do is they're trying to upright your card in the center. They're trying to get you to help you see sort of who you are and how you are in a better light, with maybe less judgment of yourself, so that you can move forward in a more authentic way, is what I want to say. Now, this next card is the potential outcomes card. This tells me sort of where things are going to turn out for most of the Libras. It's not set in stone, though. This is the future card, but it always is malleable. So if it's a good card, we can take heart in the fact that we're naturally heading towards this outcome by the end of April. But if it's a negative card, we can utilize this card as a warning to make choices and changes in our lives so that this card doesn't come to pass. So let's see what this is. So we have the Eight of Wands. All right, so I'm going to say this. I feel like whatever this Seven of Wands situation was that's sort of affecting our self-esteem, that we might be judging ourselves or them by, these emotional scenarios that are going on around us, they may pertain to this. And I feel like this is the coming together and the balancing of whatever we felt like we lost here in the past, or whatever we felt like didn't quite work out, or whatever we felt like was in our way in the past. We've got to get out of this judgment of ourselves and others, and we've got to also allow these emotional situations or these things where our negotiations go wonky and we get frustrated with other people. We need to allow that to stop. By the month's end, we will. There's this sort of this like woman here. It's the Eight of Wands. It definitely ties into the Seven of Wands, right? But to me, they're being sheltered and he's sort of pursuing her. To me, this feels like there's a reconnection happening here. There's a reconnection of ourselves with, say, maybe our environment around us, our workspace, our friendships, our relationships, whatever that is, but we're gonna have to work hard at it. And it's about like our own internal work and our own internal judgment of how we see situations, how we're viewing situations, how we're viewing ourselves in situations. And the emotionality of the month of April also, I have a feeling you guys are going to be challenged a little bit, but it's about rising to that challenge, not allowing the past to sort of indicate your expectations of how you may or may not behave, or whether or not you will or will not be successful, and to move forward. You will move forward towards a place of more balance and more harmony. That's the Eight of Wands, but it's going to take some work. I'm going to be honest. It's definitely going to take some work. Hold on one moment, please. So it's definitely going to take some work, but it's not work that I don't think you're capable of doing. And I think that you are going to, by month's end, be in a better place and feeling more connected and a little bit less sort of stifled, if that makes sense. I'd be interested in hearing from my Libras what is going on for you guys so far, or how you are feeling, because to me, this feels a little bit, like I said, stifled, and I don't know if that's the case for you guys. I would hope that it's not, but if that is something that is going on for some of you guys, then don't worry. These cards are just telling me that you're exactly where you need to be and that you are on your way to sort of changing that. You just have to have faith and sort of stay with it. Your spirit is behind you. That judgment card is no joke sitting up in the spirit space, right? That judgment card is definitely like there to help you, but you have to sort of like allow it to. All right, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I hope that made sense. Please give me a like, share, or subscribe. If you hated it, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. But if it did make sense, please leave me a comment. I would be interested in knowing over on the YouTube page, once the video is uploaded, what is going on for my Libras. All right, have a great day. I will talk to you guys next month. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. All right. Let me get that damn card upright. Alright, now, this card is upright in the deck, bitches. If it comes back out for my Aquarians inverted, we know that there's some voodoo witchery happening around here. So, hello Aquarius, the last of my air signs. This is your April 2020 forecast. This is a broad spectrum forecast for anybody with sun, moon, or rising in the sign of Aquarius. My moon is actually in Aquarius. I believe my Jupiter's in Aquarius too. Anyways, so this is for those of you that have those placements, or if you have heavily placed planets in the sign of Aquarius. And what was the other thing? Or if you care about an Aquarian and you want to watch this, you can feel free to cross-watch it and learn a little bit about how their April might turn out, okay? This is a broad spectrum reading, so it's intended for a lot of people, so the messages can be a bit broad. I leave it up to the viewer to apply them to where they need to in their lives. And if you wanted something more specific to you particularly, I am available for private readings. You can message me at my Facebook business page. Other ways of supporting the channel, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you do subscribe. That way you're notified when I go live, so that like when I do free card pull nights and things like that, you can be there and be aware. Be there and be aware. All right, so let's see what's going on for my Aquarius for April of 2020. All right, this first card is what I consider like sort of, I call it the U card. It sort of tells me where the majority of my Aquarians are going to be sort of vibrating at during the month of April. Okay? It's not like, you know, the entire month of April. It just sort of gives me an idea of what you guys are creating, what you could be potentially creating for the future. But it just, you know, it gives me an idea of where you're at. So you guys have the Seven of Swords. I like that you guys have Swords energy as your lead-in card because Swords is the element of air, and you guys are air signs. So that's similar to the Geminis. The Geminis, I believe, have had the Nine of Swords. To me, when I look at this card, it feels like you guys are a little bit on the defensive or in a protective state. I'm not exactly sure why, but to me, it feels like you guys might mentally be sort of trying to sort out your thoughts and feelings on certain stuff that's going on in your life. And I feel like when I look at this card, it feels like for my Aquarians, you guys have been looking at this stuff for a little while. Like it's been something that's been on your radar for a while, and maybe you have been too busy or too preoccupied with other things to actually address it. And so now, maybe this month of April is finally time where we have time to look at these things and get our thoughts clear on certain aspects of areas of our life that we maybe haven't been paying as close attention to or we've been kind of putting off. Okay? I also feel like there is this idea of being not, I don't know if it's defensive is the right word, it might be protective, but to me, I feel like there's a self-preservation that's going on in this card for my Aquarians. I feel like you guys are maybe cleaning up your thoughts and trying to be productive and how do I want to say this? Like, it's almost like you guys are just like sort of shoring up your stance or your boundaries in a way. Like, I'm not sure if there's been areas where you guys have let things slide and now it's like no longer, you can no longer allow for that. It's kind of maybe what I'm feeling, or that's sort of the vibe that I'm getting from this card. Is it feels like my Aquarians are finally going to like sort of clean house throughout the month of April mentally and decide, okay, we're keeping that, we're not keeping this, we're getting rid of that, we're not allowing that to go on anymore, we're, we deserve more than this, and we're not going to do that. It's that kind of an energy, right? And so we start to define further mentally how we want things to be. And so to me, I feel like this is a beneficial card, but it feels like you might have to sort of draw some boundaries or create new boundaries in areas where you sort of have, let things lax or you haven't been able to dedicate much time to it, if that makes sense. So the next card is your foundation card. This card is the sort of what the card from the past that everything is built upon. It tells me a bit about sort of why everything is the way that it is. It's also the memory of this card that holds everything in place. Okay, Queen of Swords. Again, we have air energy, which I love that. Queen of Swords is definitely in line with my Aquarians. The Queen of Swords to me is, all right, so I'm just going to explain this little story that I see right now. I feel like in the past, in the recent past, maybe even the further past for some of you, but in the fairly recent past, like let's say within the last year, my Aquarians knew what they wanted. This Queen of Swords, she knows what she wants. She's looking to the future. She's clear on what she wants. She feels protected. She feels self-assured. She feels in control. The Seven of Swords up above, although does not feel vulnerable to me, it does not feel as confident as we once felt, right? And it feels like somewhere, I want to say my Aquarians got off track in the like the last few months. Not off track in like a super bad way per se, but it's like maybe something caught your attention. Maybe it was a new job, maybe it was a new boy, maybe it was a new pastime, or some sort of guilty pleasure that you took up, and it kind of made you lose sight of your long-term goals that you maybe had put into place for yourself, say back in 2019, or at New Year's, you know, your New Year's resolution of I'm going to do this, this, and this, and now we're 3 months in. Well, now it'll be April, we're 4 months in, and I've kind of gotten off that track. And so that's what this Seven of Swords feels like. Is it's like we're shoring up. That's what I meant, like shoring up our boundaries or whatever. We're getting ourselves back to this queen state that we were in. That we were so clear on what we wanted. We were so clearly defined. These two feel a little bit preoccupied. Like maybe the Aquarians have stopped and played a little bit, or lost sight of what their future goals were. And not in a bad way, just like kind of, you know, you got a little preoccupied, you had a little fun, you met somebody, you did something, you drank a little too much, you did whatever. But to me, it feels like the Seven of Swords is about, like, sort of, in the month of April, is about regaining this confidence, regaining this sort of awareness, this clarity that comes with this Queen of Swords, this nurturing sort of definitive clarity. Now, I am going to say this. The Queen of Swords is present. She's the foundation. She's never left you guys. You know, the awareness that you had back whenever it was is still obtainable in there. You maybe just sort of got lax with it, or lost sight of it for a minute. But don't be too hard on yourselves, right? And I don't feel like the Seven of Swords is about being hard on yourselves, but I do feel like it's about sort of like, oh shit, now I gotta like make up for lost time. Oh shit, now I gotta like, you know, protect myself and get myself back in order again. And I don't want you guys to feel that way. I feel like she's a very strong card to have as the foundation, like she's sort of the driving force. So everything is built on her strength and her clarity, and the fact that she is such a strong air sign card says to me that you guys have sort of the power and the ability to get right back on track the minute you want to, and you are in the process of that during April. Now, this next card is what I call the Spirit or Soul card. It tells me what your spirit or soul is working on during this time. And we have the Hangman. So the Hangman to me is Major Arcana, and he is hanging there on by a tree. Sort of, he has the ability to set himself free. He has the ability to sort of, you know, undo his own situation if he wants. And I feel like whatever preoccupied my Aquarians, or whatever got us off track, our spirit wants us to see that and understand that from a very deep place, from a very powerful and profound place, so that we can move forward with the strength and the like clarity that this queen possesses that we had at one point in time. I almost feel like somewhere there was a trade that was made and we didn't even realize we were maybe trading it off. And now it's like this Hangman sitting up in the spirit space is saying, no bitch, you traded it off. Now you need to look at what you traded, and now we need to get you back on track, and now you need to untie yourself from the tree and learn this lesson, and we're going to get you back on track, heading to where you want to go. Because here in this Seven of Swords, we're not as clear, we're not as safe, we're not as productive, we're not as what this Queen of Swords once represented. But I do believe that we needed to have this happen. That's why that Hanged Man is up there in the soul space. He is Major Arcana, so it means it's a big lesson. It's one of the archetypes of the Major Arcana. So to me, it's this idea of letting ourselves off the hook, letting ourselves sort of understand maybe where we went wrong, and then not dwell so much upon it, and just get about moving forward. Not looking to the past, not looking to, you know, where we made the mistake and trying to figure out why, but just sort of like going, oh, we made the mistake, we won't do that again, let's go. Now the next two cards are the outside influences. These tell me about what's sort of influencing you in the month of April. These can be people, events, sometimes things more vague like belief systems or energies that are having an effect on you during the month of April. The first one is the King of Pentacles. immediately want to say, and I don't want this to go to pinpoint like a specific Aquarian that's watching, but I want to know who let the dude in and got all confused around the dude. I just feel like the King of Pentacles deals with like sort of, obviously Pentacles is the element of Earth, so this could be of if we're gonna go sign wise and talk about this being an outside person, it could be somebody of an Earth based nature. It could be a Virgo, Capricorn, or a Taurus, right? But he's definitely an authority, and I feel like he's definitely probably charming. He's in charge. He is somebody that knows his shit. He can also be a little bit stubborn, maybe at times. Um, he's definitely into my Aquarians. If this is a specific person, for some of you that are watching, he's definitely got his attention on you. But it's funny. It's like I feel like this queen should have met this king, but they couldn't. Right? She had to like sort of bow out and let him be king. And that's when we became sort of the Seven of Swords, and we're trying to like sort of backtrack and get our energy back around us, get our awareness back around us, our strength, our protection, our clarity back around us again. This King of Pentacles, if it's not an actual person, it could be a very big material-based situation for my Aquarians, right? King of Pentacles could represent, like, say, a job, a big important job that maybe we wanted or we want that could be coming to us. Or it could be like a boyfriend, some sort of, to me, it's some sort of material preoccupation that has a sort of fairly large impact in profound effect on us. So much so that it puts us into this state of this Seven of Swords in our center throughout the month of April. We could be a little bit nervous about it, right? A little bit preoccupied with it, whether it's a potential someone or a potential job, a potential move or new home. It's something of a material nature that's big in nature, that's heading our way. And it may be causing us to doubt ourselves a little bit. But don't worry, we'll be fine. The King of Pentacles is always a loving, beneficial, benevolent king. And I gotta say too, Pentacles energy can move rather slowly. So I wouldn't sweat that either. Like, this process will probably be one where you can hopefully adapt to it as it comes, if that makes sense. The other outside influence is the Knave of Wands. This to me is about spiritual learning. This could be a fire sign if we're looking at it as an outside person. I don't necessarily know. Knaves are generally younger people, younger fire signs, Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. But to me, I feel like this could also be the opportunity for spiritual growth, for spiritual learning. Like, when I look at these two outside influences, to me it feels like if these aren't actual people, right? In some of your situations, they might be actual people that are coming into your life in the month of April that are teaching you things, or that you're helping them to learn, that sort of a thing. If they're not those sort of things, then these would be represent for others of you as situations where, like I said, this King of Pentacles would be around material goods. This would be around a new job offer. This would be around something big and serious. This Knave of Wands would be around the growth or the feeling of being sort of maybe unsure. Can I take this job? Oh my God. Do I have the ability to handle it? Am I strong enough? And the Knave of Wands is there as an outside influence to teach you, to show you, to have the enthusiasm, to like have you reach deep down into your spirit, to believe in yourself enough that yes, you can. And this Queen of Swords down here, she's the driving force, right? She's the foundation with which all this is built upon. So if we can tap into her faster, get out of this hangman energy of feeling stuck, right? Making a decision and moving forward with that clarity that is represented in that Queen of Swords, we can move forward. And there's opportunities here. There's definite opportunities here with that King of Pentacles. Even with that Knave of Wands, he has opportunities for learning and in the realm of the spirit and growth that are beautiful and can be profound. They might just feel a little bit unsettling or nerve-wracking to some of my Aquarians, right? Because you guys are like sort of remembering that time back when you were so self-assured and everything was so pulled together and everything was going so right. And right now it doesn't necessarily feel like it's going wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's going as perfectly as it had in the past. And we're comparing that past to our now. And in doing that, we are sort of creating this energy of the Hanged Man, of feeling maybe stuck, more stuck than we actually really are. Now, this last card is what I call the potential outcomes card. This card always comes with a caveat. This is where the energy is naturally heading for most of you, barring that nothing major changes. But if this is a good card, the great thing is we don't have to do much to change it, right? We can just allow it to happen. But if it's a negative card, we can use this card as a warning to make choices and changes in our life to affect this outcome. So this card is not set in stone, okay? So this card is just sort of where things are going to head, you know, if everything sort of stays the way that it's going. We have the Emperor. I feel like the Emperor is this King of Pentacles situation that's coming at you, us owning it. It's almost like, to me, I feel like the minute I looked at this Emperor card, it felt like this card, and this card almost becoming like a family, right? Father, mother, son coming together in the center here and becoming the Emperor. Does that make sense, guys? Like, I know that sounds silly, but that's how the cards just connected up for me. If we trust ourselves and we remember that we had it good at one point in time and we can always get it good again, and we unhang ourselves from this bullshit that's going on, you know, that our spirit wants us free of, whatever this talk is that's keeping us hung up. Stop, like, sort of, you know, I mean, this Seven of Swords to me is not a bad card. It's just about us sort of like remembering what we want and how to get there, and remembering to keep that sort of in our trajectory, right? But also being open to these big opportunities that are coming, and also to the spiritual learning that is coming. And when we take that spiritual learning, that openness to that enthusiasm that's in this Knave of Wands, and the strength and the authority that's in this King of Pentacles, and we meld it with the experiences we've had and the clarity that we've had in the past, the strength that we've been at before with this Queen of Swords, we end up at the end of the month as the Emperor. And the Emperor is major arcana, right? This is about big growth. This is about benevolence. This is about compassion. This is about not cutting corners. This is about not letting people slip by. This is about having high expectations and expecting yourself and others to meet them. But not from a place of, like, being a pain in the ass or you know, people finding you to be miserable. This is about people going, like, this is about you having high expectations. How do I want to say this? This is about you having expectations as high for yourself as you would for anybody else, and being willing to not only help yourself to get there and meet those expectations, but others too. And as you start to honor that and see that Emperor energy in yourself, and you don't cut corners with yourself, and you don't lose sight of that, and you stay fixated on that, and you move into that and settle into that, and you expect that of others, and you help them to get to where they need to be so that they can find their Emperor energy, you're, like, even more appreciated. You know? I feel like April to you, for my Aquarians, is about, like, this sort of like a mental tidying up and getting back to what we were originally had planned, and then not only reaching that plan, but going beyond that plan and hitting that Emperor energy by the end of the month. The Emperor is very stable, very secure, very aware of his worth, his nobility, his value, very willing to share it, but he's not going to share it with just anyone. He's not going to waste it on fools, right? And that's not, like, from a bad braggarty sort of place. That's from a place of just understanding your own self-worth and expecting others to approach you with their own self-worth, right? I like this reading for my Aquarians for this month. It'll be interesting to see how April turns out for you guys. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of this reading, if it made sense or not. I hope that it did. If you're interested in having a personal reading done that actually is more specific to your situation, those are certainly available. You can always message me at the business page or direct message me on Instagram. You can follow me at Engelgeist333. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. Have a wonderful April. And what was I going to say? Please like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. And all of that stuff is greatly appreciated. Share the video out too with anybody that you think that can use it. Have a great April, and I will see you guys soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.